You personally, how do you feel about homosexuality?
I find it disgusting. Men kissing men, holding hands in the street. Every fucking TV show now, they rub your nose in it. Although the lesbian thing with the Jennifer Beals, it's not bad.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well. So, today we're going to talk about Pride Month, and we're also going to talk about the decline of a lot of these companies and institutions that have embraced this DEI cult and have embraced this incredibly destructive, evil ideology. And they are demanding conformity, but they have no problem mocking and belittling Christians and, the MLB, having things to do with, drag queen nuns. They have no problem embracing these groomers and child predators. They have no problem embracing this ideology that is so incredibly disgusting and against every norm that a civil society should have. One of the core foundations is that you have the right and should have a right to protect your children, but more so than as an individual, the community, your country, should also engage in protecting your kid, not by doing anything specifically to go about inhibiting their rights or your rights, but by having a culture that says that it's not okay to do what this pernicious cult of demented weirdos is pushing. That's the main problem here. The LGBT community is synonymous with groomers and pedophiles at this point because they have done nothing to separate themselves from that. In fact, they defend it at every opportunity. When Ron DeSantis comes forward and says, okay, well, we're going to make it so that sexuality is not going to be discussed in classrooms with kids kindergarten through third grade, the left went apoplectic. They said it's all right to indoctrinate your kids. It's all right to tell your kids about our sexuality. And if that is what you believe, if you believe that you have a right to go to somebody else's kid and said, I'm gay and I'm this and I'm that, if you believe that, you deserve to be in prison at the very least. That is the compassionate thing to do. What they did in the Old West to your kind was far, far worse. Now, it needs to be said that the path that you're going down, you're not going to like how it turns out. Because people have had a live and let live attitude with the LGBT community for a long time. In fact, most people are like, if you want to get married, I don't really care. They've had this laissez-faire, like, who really gives a shit? Who am I to say who does what in their bedroom? That has been the standard opinion amongst most people for a long time. But now, with the inclusion of this cult of demented, pervasive weirdos, who, by the way, a lot of them aren't even LGBTQ. They're just very lonely, very desperate, very degenerate people that are looking for something to validate their empty and worthless and meaningless lives. And they're using your sexuality as a cause to do it. And in the process, they are not only destroying all of the work that you've done over the years to advance your cause. Not only are they doing that, but they are bringing back some pretty terrible ideas, because when you go after people's children, that is the last straw. That is the last straw. And Target and Kohl's and even Budweiser. Bud Light was targeting beer to children through Dylan Mulvaney. Because Dylan Mulvaney's audience is young kids. So all of this is corporations promoting this degenerate ideology to young people, and the result is they're getting hammered. But for some reason, they just can't stop because the system is already too deep. You have a system in place right now that punishes corporations for not going woke. They have to be part of the group or they're not going to be invited into the inner circle. And I can verify that from my channel in particular. I am well aware that because my opinions don't neatly conform to the insider group that exists on Twitch and YouTube, they're not inviting me anywhere. I'm not getting the sponsorship deals. I'm not getting on YouTube Rewind before, that gets destroyed. Because my opinions, and it wouldn't matter if I had 10 million subscribers or 100 million, my opinions are too outside of their bubble, which means I believe in basic rights. I believe in common sense. I'm a Christian conservative. I'm somebody that believes in Jesus Christ and isn't afraid to say that. That to them goes too far. And I'm willing to defend my rights, and that goes too far. Because as we see from the baseball player who cucked himself, you have to abandon your faith when the cult demands it. When the cult demands it, you have to abandon your core principles. That's what you have to do. It's a non-negotiable. They say, hey, you know what? We believe this thing. You believe that thing. Well, too bad. You've alienated people. They have no problems. They have no problems alienating Christians. They have no problems bringing on these inappropriate displays. They have no problems with that. At all. None. But when it comes to people like me, if I have an issue with them attempting to groom children and their perversion and mockery of a faith, and not just, making a casual joke, but incorporating this evil, satanic, degenerate cult into it, if I have an issue with it, well, then I'm an extremist and I need to apologize because I may have offended somebody. No. These people, these corporations, need to be shamed and mocked and made toxic. Now, here's the differentiator. I have never once, nor will I ever, call for violence against any corporation or any person. I think that loses you the argument, that loses you the cultural victory, and it loses you the moral high ground. The left burns down buildings and loots and hurts people and commits all sorts of degeneracy and crime because they are human filth. You and me, we're not about that. We're not going to lower to their level. The correct response is to do a number of things. What I'm doing here, calling this to light, I'm never going to this person's let me bring him up. I'm never going to this person's personal Twitter account and just laying into him like I do in the video, because that's not the point. It's not about this one person. Yeah, he was cucked out. Yeah, he betrayed his religion, and he's going to have to come to terms with that when he meets face to face with the Almighty. Hey, you had a chance to do something good. You had a chance to stand up against the enemy, and you bent the knee for personal gain and cash, and because you're not the person you thought you were. You were not a person of faith and conviction. You surrendered your faith to pander to a cult of degenerate people that prey on children. A bunch of satanic cult worshippers. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. These are people that embrace sin. They take pride in their sin. Pride is a sin. And there's a reason why pride is a sin, by the way. Because pride is one of the deadliest sins because it blinds you to all of the different things wrong with you. And no matter who you are, there are things wrong with you that you need to improve daily. But the whole vanity, it stops you from improving. It makes you narcissistic to an absolutely unbelievable degree. So, whereas you should be progressing and realizing your limitations and realizing, and this is something that religion does very well, realizing that you are not the Almighty, you are not the God of this world, that you are an imperfect human being that will make mistakes, of course, absolutely, will make many mistakes in your life, but it's about learning them. Affirming your problems and issues and failures is evil because it seeks to change the entire world in order to make your problems the norm, which is not good. That is evil. You're trying to say, well, I have a sexual proclivity for this. Instead of realizing that what you are invested in, and a lot of these people are apparently interested in, young children by the way that they act, by the way that they behave, they think, well, that should be normalized. The kids should be exposed to this. And my response to that is absolutely not. And that's a non-negotiable, by the way. So, we're going to watch this guy's whimpering apology. It was pathetic. There were a couple other baseball players, and they did a much better job. They didn't apologize. They didn't back down.
I recognized yesterday I made a post that was hurtful to the Pride community, which includes
the Pride community. Basically, a bunch of groomers and perverts at this point. It's indistinguishable. It's not like, oh, you just hate them because no. It's because they have made it very clear that their movement is about grooming and sexualizing kids. They are not willing to back down from that. They defend that. They advocate for that. That to them is a non-negotiable. For me, them doing that is a non-negotiable. So we're at an impasse here. And if you think that it's okay for you to bring your kink shit around other people's kids, that's, in fact, that's more than an impasse. That's more than an impasse. You're not doing it. At least not around here, you're not. That's the basic, bare minimum. You don't get to go to somebody else's kid and bring your perversion around them. Now, if they want to do all this shit, we can talk about it, we can shame them, but at the end of the day, parents have the right to choose what they do with their kids, as distasteful and disgusting as we may find it. But you don't have the right to go to somebody else's kids. You don't have the right to do anything with somebody else's kids. So I don't want to hear this whole thing about, well, we have a right. No, you don't. You have no rights when it comes to other people's children. If you want to embarrass yourself by dressing in this ridiculous clothing and walking outside and dancing around when you're an unattractive man who thinks he's a woman, fine, you do that. But you stay away from kids. It's the bare minimum. And that's a non-negotiable. And the consequences for not following that, they should be pretty clear. There should be no ambiguity, is what I'm saying. It shouldn't be like, oops, I accidentally did this and then somebody accidentally did something. No, it should be crystal clear. If you go around other people's kids, you're going to be arrested or go to jail. Or if that fails, and this is not what I'm advocating, but this is the reality, if society breaks down to the point where we get to a moment where the LGBT community can, with impunity and without consequence, sexualize other people's children, that will be the end of society. Because I know for a fact that people will start doing things that you don't want them to do, because that to them is a non-negotiable. Protecting their children is absolutely vital. And this LGBT cult, this mob of demented weirdos, they believe and have stated vehemently that not only do they believe that they have access to your kids to teach them about whatever they want sexually in terms of kink, these books that Tim Pool has went out that are just absolutely repugnant and gross. It just, this is something this is something that should be made perfectly clear that it's not okay. If you want to be gay, if you want to be trans, you do you. You're over the age of 18. You're not bothering anyone. You know what? You do you. But the moment these corporations step up and start putting this shit in your kids, we have an issue. It's Pride Month. Remember to be gay, do crime. Oh, gross. Tomorrow, beginning of Pride Month, no amount of politics should stop people from being or loving who they want. Actually, a lot of politics should be in place, like kids. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I thought it was funny. WWE was just in Saudi Arabia and they had the dress from head to toe. The women did. Pulse with Pride. It's like you go down this and it's the degenerate rabbit hole. It's absolutely repulsive. For me personally, I don't care if they change their flag to rainbow, but I think that it should be called out, and that's the difference here. I'm not advocating a call to action or anything like that. I'm simply saying that on the internet, when you're talking about this stuff, make it a point of conversation that you're not okay with it. Make it a point of conversation that what these people are doing, it disgusts you. Because it is disgusting. There is nothing about it that's remotely okay when it comes to kids. And that's the main thing here. The focus over the past couple years has been kids. They're going after kids. They're targeting kids in school at these drag events. This has been the main push from the LGBT community. This has been what they're going for. So if that's what you're going for, that's what we're going to talk about. And then suddenly you're not okay. Suddenly, you know what? You've gone too far. Now it's no longer live and let live. Now it's, okay, well, if you're going to go after kids, then the answer is absolutely no, and we will have no wiggle room, and it's no longer live and let live. It's, at this point, if you embrace these people and what they stand for, which is grooming kids, then we have an issue. And we see the result of that issue. Bud Light, has lost billions with a B. They have lost a fortune. Breaking, Toronto Blue Jay punished after endorsing Bud Light boycott. Target loses $12 billion in 14 days. Retail giant's market cap plummets after longest losing streak in 5 years as shares drop to lowest levels in a year amid Pride tuck-friendly swimwear. And this is what it is. I want you to burn this into your head. You did this. If you're part of the LGBT community that's part of this, you did this. It wasn't us. It was live and let live, civil unions. People, even 10, 15 years ago, were more accepting of the LGBTQ lifestyle than ever before, but you kept pushing. And so now, what you've done is you have awakened a sleeping giant, which is moms, suburban moms, and other people who may not have been aware of this. When a suburban mom goes to Target and they're inundated with this shit, and there's a tuck-friendly bit of swimwear, a black or Hispanic mother with young kids, what do you think they think about that? Do you think they're like, oh, this is great? No. They look at that and say, what is this? Tuck-friendly? What is this? So you're getting people that have never been exposed to this sort of stuff before having to explain to their kids who are young about this, and that's unacceptable. Although that's the whole point, is pushing this shit on kids. So, boycott month begins tomorrow. Yeah. Let's see how proud these brands are after 30 days of consistent business loss. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Target, Bud Light, Kohl's, Calvin Klein, Nike, Pantene, Dove, City, Adidas, Gillette. Again, this is not homophobia. This is, we like natural men and women. And yeah, that's exactly right. And any company that embraces this stuff and starts pushing it to kids, you're out. And we've seen that conservative boycotts do work. They do. Now, Bud Light is doubling down. I think at this point they're going full woke, because they've lost so much money. The brand is untouchable. It's toxic at this point. They're like, whatever, we'll just, might as well go down with the ship. There's nothing they can do to revive Bud Light. But Bud Light is a toxic brand, which is what all these brands should be. And that's the main point here. It's not to hate on one person or one ideology of like, hey, let's go hate on gay people. No, it's not about that. It's not about one type of person. It's not about one sexual identity. It's not about one thing. It's about the difference between good and evil. A degenerate cult of satanic morons that are pushing this filth, this racist, sexist dogma at the expense of anything else, versus people that want to live their life free from this sort of tyranny. And it is. This guy abandoned his Christian faith because he didn't have the strength to stand up for his convictions. What an absolute coward. Now, you shouldn't send this guy personal hate, like emails or phone calls. But on Twitter, you make fun of this guy. I expect memes of him. In fact, let me look at Anthony Bass. Let's take a look at some memes of this guy. This is the video that Anthony Bass shared on Instagram that he was browbeaten.
Corporation that's pushing the things they're. Here's the reason biblically why I believe Christians ought to be boycotting Target and Bud Light and any other corporation that's pushing the things they're pushing. I think a lot of people make this into a political issue, or they say, oh, what's the big deal? If, is it really going to make that big of a difference if I'm shopping there or not shopping there? Here's what the Bible says. It tells us what to do as Christians in Ephesians chapter 5. It says this: take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful to even talk of the things that they do in secret. So what does that mean to take no part? Well, what's Target do? It's a business. They make money. They sell things. And to take part in that is to take part in that God of mammon that they're serving, and to take part in the darkness that they're purveying and getting out to the world and shoving into children's faces. And to take part in that is to give them your money. And I believe the Bible gives us radical precedent to say no. We are running from that, and to instead expose those things, to shout it to all the people that have ears to hear that this is evil, this is demonic. We won't stand for it. We're not going to go to the stores anymore, and we're not going to give them our money. We're going to let our voice be heard. So
after watching that, which was perfectly reasonable and fine, what did they threaten him with? What is it that this LGBTQ mob and this DIE mob and this corporate hegemony, what did they threaten him with? Hey, you better go out there and apologize or we're going to sue you. We're going to take away your livelihood. What was threatened to get him from here to here? Because that is terrifying. A man talking about his faith. Hey, you know what? I believe in my Christian values. I believe in my Christian faith. To go from that to this apology, unbelievable. I'll tell you what I would do. If somebody came to me and said, you better apologize, I would say, hell no. I stand by every word. And do you know what would happen? If they decided to fire me, if they decided to get rid of me, fine. Fine. Hey, you know what? I'm going to sue you for breach of contract. You're discriminating against my belief. You're discriminating against me. I'm going to sue you for millions of dollars, and then I'm going to take that money and I'm going to donate it to a bunch of Christian causes. That's what I would have done if I were him. A bunch of Christian causes that don't believe in the mutilation and sexualization of children. But this guy is an absolute coward. He's somebody that doesn't have the strength. His faith for him is paper thin. And I say that because there's nothing sort of holding a gun to my family member's head that would dissuade me from my faith in that way. What he said initially was spot on. It was perfectly fine. It was normal. It was correct. These corporations are engaging in satanic child predator bullshit. And it's not hyperbole to say satanic. No. The left in America, and we see this from Hollywood, their Satanist parties, the left embraces sin and Satan and the evil works of the enemy, as is referred to. They embrace all of that. This really is a battle between good and evil. The people on the left are evil. What they're promoting is evil. It is a sinful, degenerate lifestyle that puts themselves as the false god. That's what it is. They are being told that, no, there is no God, and you can be whatever body you want. You can mutilate the gift that God gave you. Change your body and become something abominable. Become something that can't reproduce. They can't engage in a beautiful traditional relationship. You can't engage in any of that because you basically surrendered your future for the delusion that you are in control of everything and that you can shape your gender. You can't. Now, this may be hard for some people to hear, but it is the truth. And so Pride Month comes, and we're going to be talking about a lot of these companies that do stupid things and give out blanket bullshit statements like love is love. Well, toilet water is toilet water. Toilet water is water, right? This guy, look at his demeanor. This guy should feel fucking ashamed. He should feel absolutely ashamed. It's free to do it. You cave to evil people. You think these people are evil, and yet you cave? And you still think you're a Christian? No, you're not. This man abandoned his religious principles to cater to a mob of people that embrace racism, sexism, degeneracy, kink, the 7 deadly sins, and all of the all of the enemy's works. So, shameful, embarrassing. But yeah, we continue to call this stuff out. We continue to have a conversation. So that's what we do. We talk about it. We're winning the battle. Make people like him embarrassed. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean doing what the left does. Like, hey, we're gonna find out who you are. We're gonna leave messages on your answering machine. We're gonna get you fired. No. It just means making this man realize what a mistake he made by making fun of him, by mocking him, by making him a meme, by making his brand toxic, by using him as an example, saying, wow, you really don't want to be like Anthony Bass. That guy was a coward. That guy was baseless. Anyway, on that note, I will bid you guys a good day, and I will see you next time.